Paramount has done the unthinkable in a shocking and deeply humiliating turn of events. The entertainment giant has reportedly slammed the door once and for all on what insiders are calling Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's last-ditch attempt to save their rapidly crumbling public image. Sources say the couple had been working for months on a final project meant to redefine their legacy, a docudrama meets political redemption arc that was supposed to be their grand comeback. But now, it's completely dead in the water. And the reasons behind the rejection, let's just say they're messy, personal, and could change everything you thought you knew about the Sussexes. Word spread like wildfire through Hollywood this week, when a private pitch meeting at Paramount's headquarters reportedly exploded into chaos. Insiders claim Meghan showed up steely-eyed and rehearsed, while Harry looked tense and distant. Their proposal, a dramatized miniseries reimagining their royal exit, but this time told as a political thriller where they're victims of a shadowy institutional cover-up. But before the PowerPoint could even load, Paramount's executives allegedly cut the meeting short, with one source describing the mood as cold, clipped, and brutally final. The rejection wasn't just a no, it was a statement. According to a source close to the situation, Paramount executives cited reputational risk, oversaturation, and lack of narrative clarity as key reasons. But others are whispering something even darker. The royal couple has burned too many bridges. Industry veterans claim Meghan's behind-the-scenes behavior on past projects left a sour taste. One studio insider even described her as impossible to direct, while others say Harry has become increasingly checked out and paranoid about betrayal. Now, with no major studio willing to gamble on their comeback series, the Sussexes are said to be spiraling. Meghan is reportedly furious, blaming internal sabotage and jealous execs with royal sympathies. Meanwhile, Harry, caught between his Hollywood dreams and real regrets, is allegedly questioning everything, including whether stepping down from royal duties was worth it. Fans are shocked, the industry is buzzing, and the royal family, let's just say some, are quietly celebrating the collapse of what could have been the couple's ultimate PR redemption. But that's just the beginning, because what happened inside that Paramount boardroom triggered a chain of events that would soon spiral into betrayals, family fury, and a series of backstabbing confessions that no one, not even the palace, saw coming. It started behind closed doors, in a boardroom scented with cold coffee and tension so thick it could be sliced with a letter opener. Meghan had walked into Paramount's high-security executive wing dressed in monochrome power black trousers, a white silk blouse, her hair in a calculated bun that said controlled, unbothered, victorious. But underneath that composed facade, her nerves danced like electric wires. Harry trailed just behind her, looking as if his body were there but his mind had left the building days ago. He avoided eye contact with nearly everyone, except Meghan, who gave him subtle glances that said, "Don't speak unless I signal." According to one insider present at the scene, Meghan took the lead from the moment she entered. She wasn't here to ask, she was here to secure her next empire. But things went south almost immediately, the moment their presentation began. An executive referred to only as Simon in leaked notes folded his arms, leaned back in his chair, and stared at the screen like it was a joke. He whispered something to the woman next to him. She stifled a chuckle. Meghan caught it. Her face didn't flinch, but her voice, according to a witness, grew sharper. "What we're offering isn't just entertainment, it's cultural reckoning." But the room remained still, cold, corporate, by the time they finished pitching their docudramatic royal thriller, which they claimed would blend real footage with scripted reenactments to highlight what they called the silencing machine of monarchical control. There was silence. Meghan looked from face to face, waiting for validation. Harry shifted in his seat. Finally, one of the junior execs cleared his throat and asked, "Are you saying the royal family was involved in a psychological warfare campaign against you?" Meghan responded without hesitation, "Absolutely." That's when Simon leaned forward and said, "That's a bold accusation." "Do you have any proof?" Meghan's lips twitched. "We have sources," she said coolly. But Harry's hands trembled slightly. That was the first red flag. Studio sources claimed Paramount wasn't just concerned about the legal blowback, they were worried about Harry himself. "He looked unstable," one staffer later said. "Like he'd been dragged into this and wasn't sure if he still believed the story." And when the execs began raising questions about past projects, especially the Netflix documentary's mixed reception and the Spotify deal's sudden collapse, Meghan's tone shifted from persuasive to defensive. "We were censored, controlled, backstabbed." She added that certain people within Netflix tried to water down their message, a claim one exec quietly dismissed as classic deflection. What they didn't expect was for someone from the Paramount team to already have access to confidential reports from previous productions. As one insider revealed, there was a document quietly circulated that detailed production delays, creative disagreements, and feedback from editors who said Meghan constantly changed scripts and rejected notes. She wanted total control. The room, at that point, had turned against them. What started as a pitch morphed into an interrogation. And Harry, he went quiet. He looked at his hands. Meghan, noticing this, placed her hand on his an overly calculated gesture that studio execs later described as performative. The meeting ended without applause, without a promise of follow-up, without even a handshake from Simon, just a curt "thank you for your time," and the couple was escorted out a different door than the one they entered. Within 20 minutes, word had already reached corners of Hollywood that Paramount had rejected Meghan and Harry's comeback proposal. The news spread faster than wildfire on a windy day. What happened next was worse. Meghan allegedly lashed out backstage, slamming her bag down and snapping at Harry. "Why didn't you say anything? You were supposed to back me," Harry, witnesses claim, muttered. "I didn't agree with some of it." Those 5 words were enough to ignite what one staffer described as a volcanic argument in the hallway. Meghan accused him of sabotaging the deal. "You always do this, you hesitate when it matters most," she said through clenched teeth. Harry, visibly shaking, shot back, "Maybe because I don't know if we're still telling the truth." That silence afterward was louder than the shouting. Security asked them to step outside. But the damage was done. The couple's departure from the building was filmed by a sneaky intern who leaked the footage to an anonymous gossip blog. In the blurry video, Meghan can be seen storming toward their car while Harry trails behind, rubbing his temples. The blog posted it with the caption, "Was this the moment Hollywood gave up on H&M?" It went viral within hours. The hashtags #SussexPhil and #Paramount said no began trending on X, but even that wasn't the worst of it. According to industry whispers, other studios that had been on the fence about working with Meghan and Harry suddenly backed away. Executives from Amazon Studios, HBO Max, and even Hulu reportedly canceled their scheduled calls. Meghan's manager is said to have gone into panic mode, trying to control the narrative by spinning it as a creative disagreement. But the truth had already leaked. Not only had Paramount rejected their pitch, it had essentially blacklisted them. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, Meghan was reportedly inconsolable. Close friends said she locked herself in her media room for days, obsessively reading online comments and taking screenshots of what she saw as traders sharing or liking anti-Sussex content. Harry, on the other hand, was seen pacing the backyard for hours deep in thought. One of their neighbors reportedly heard him yelling on the phone, "I should have stayed out of this meeting, I knew it would go sideways." But that wasn't the only betrayal brewing. Because someone in Meghan's inner circle, a longtime friend she trusted, was about to leak emails and audio clips that would ignite a second firestorm, one even more brutal than the Paramount rejection itself. And it all started with a deleted voice note Meghan thought she had erased forever. But the internet never forgets. Especially not when someone close to you, someone you've laughed with, cried with, maybe even confessed your biggest fears, 2 decides they're done staying silent. The betrayal came from a woman known only as Eve, a longtime confidant of Meghan's from her early Suits days who had remained in her orbit as a quiet assistant/friend. No one ever really noticed her, but he had been present at countless key meetings, including the recent Paramount debacle. What pushed her over the edge? According to insiders, it was a combination of being emotionally manipulated, unpaid for months, and gaslit into silence. When she finally snapped, she leaked a voice note Meghan had recorded weeks before the Paramount putsch one, where she rehearsed her lines for the presentation in a tone far removed from the victim narrative she would later deliver. In the clip, Meghan can be heard practicing a line. "They need to believe this destroyed me. Harry, I need them to feel guilty." That's how you get Hollywood to hand you a second chance. The audio went viral in under 6 hours. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. No longer were they a couple desperate for a fresh start. They were now seen as cold strategists playing emotional theater to manipulate studios and fans alike. Hollywood insiders began referring to them as the Sussex Act, a sarcastic jab at their increasingly dramatic and self-serving presentations. Meghan's defenders rushed online to say the clip was taken out of context. She was practicing for a docudrama script, one fan insisted, but the damage was done. Even former supporters began to question her intentions. Was this ever about healing or just about relevance? Harry, already rattled from the Paramount humiliation, reportedly broke down when the clip leaked. A source close to the family said he locked himself in his study and didn't come out for nearly 36 hours. He didn't eat, he didn't sleep, he just sat there playing old voicemails from Diana on repeat, the source revealed. Meghan, meanwhile, went into PR overdrive, calling in favors, scheduling emergency interviews, and even offering to appear live on a popular daytime talk show to clear the air. But the producers declined. "We're not looking for another performance," was the only reply she got. Then came the next bombshell. Buckingham Palace broke its silence not directly, but through a subtle leak to a favored tabloid, a royal. Insider claimed that King Charles had seen the leaked footage and said during a private dinner, "Perhaps now the world sees why we did what we had to." That one quote was all it took. British media had a field day. Headlines like "The Crown Strikes Back" and "Palace Vindicated" dominated the press. Meghan and Harry were now fighting not just public skepticism, but the re-emergence of royal power reclaiming the narrative. As tensions mounted, Harry received a private letter from his brother, Prince William. Or at least, that's what his team believed. The letter was delivered by hand, unsigned, but bore the royal seal. In it were only 6 words: "You made your choice. So did we." Harry read it 3 times before tearing it up. He didn't speak to Meghan about it for hours, until finally saying, "He's done with me. I've lost him." Meghan, unfazed, responded, "You never needed him. You've got me, and we're not finished." But Harry wasn't so sure anymore. According to sources, he began pulling away emotionally, spending long hours alone, sometimes driving around Montecito for no reason. He stopped attending meetings, stopped reading scripts. And for the first time, he skipped Meghan's strategy call with their legal team. "He's drifting," said a staffer. "He's scared that everything's coming down and that he's..." The reason. Meghan, however, doubled down. She began repitching the project under a new title, Exile, The Sussex Files, and even hired a controversial producer known for turning scandal into ratings. But every studio declined. "We've seen this show before," said one exec. The drama's real, but so is the backlash. Then, just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, another betrayal surfaced, this time from within their own team. An anonymous whistleblower from Archewell, their foundation, leaked internal documents showing that several high-profile initiatives had quietly failed or been shut down without public acknowledgement. A planned mental health summit canceled due to lack of sponsors. A children's book imprint quietly dissolved after poor sales. The climate project rebranded after a key partner pulled out. The documents included internal emails where Meghan allegedly pushed staff to spin it all as progress and instructed one PR aide to bury the story under royal drama headlines. The revelation was damning. News outlets began running segments titled "Where Did All the Money Go?" while social media exploded with demands for transparency. Suddenly, Archewell wasn't seen as a beacon of post-royal hope. It was viewed as a crumbling vanity project cloaked in buzzwords and barely held together by Meghan's media finesse. In the midst of this storm, Harry disappeared from public view entirely. Not a single photo, not a single appearance, nothing. Paparazzi staked out their Montecito mansion. Drones hovered overhead. Some tabloids claimed Harry had fled to a wellness retreat in Arizona. Others said he'd returned secretly to the UK. But the truth was even stranger. Harry was in Los Angeles, staying alone in a hotel suite booked under an alias. A staffer who spotted him said he looked lost, like a man who doesn't know who he is anymore. Meanwhile, Meghan remained at the estate, orchestrating damage control and planning a press offensive that would either redeem her or finish her. That's when the letters started arriving. Handwritten notes, some with no return address, others scrawled in shaky handwriting. All of them from fans. Some were supportive, pleading with Meghan to stay strong and fight the lies. But others were venomous. One simply said, "You fooled us once. Not again." Meghan read each one. Then, according to her close circle, she sat silently and whispered, "Maybe we pushed too far." But even as the words left her mouth, her phone buzzed. It was her attorney. A major British network was preparing to air a special titled Harry and Meghan, The Final Play, and it contained interviews with former aides, family insiders, and even a member of Meghan's old press team. The broadcast was already being teased as the special that could end it all. And Meghan knew she had one last move left, one more chance to shift the narrative. But to do it, she'd need Harry on her side again. The only problem, Harry had stopped answering her calls. For 3 straight days, Meghan's calls to Harry went unanswered. At first, she blamed a dead phone battery. Then she told herself he needed space. But as days crept in with no text, no reply, and no signal from his security detail, the panic started to settle in. Meghan, always composed in public, was now pacing the Montecito estate barefoot, clutching her phone like a lifeline. She called his assistant, only to be told, "I'm sorry, I'm not authorized to disclose his location." That was the moment she knew something had broken, not just professionally, but deeply personally. Meanwhile, Harry remained locked in his Los Angeles hotel suite, avoiding media, avoiding emails, avoiding even his own reflection. According to the hotel staff, he rarely left his room. Room service trays piled outside his door, and his television remained on 24/7, mostly stuck on old reruns of documentaries about Diana. One maid claimed she heard him mutter, "I wanted truth, not theater," while staring blankly out the window. And then came the final trigger. The British network aired its bombshell special, Harry and Meghan, The Final Play. It wasn't just damaging, it was devastating. The special featured voice-blurred confessions from former aides who claimed Meghan had scripted her public persona, and Harry had become. He'd really given them. "We wanted to be free," he said, "but maybe freedom without clarity is just chaos." And then came the part that would make global headlines for weeks. The host asked bluntly, "Do you regret leaving the royal family?" A pause, a breath, and then Harry answered, "I regret how we left. I regret the pain we caused. I regret that I believed the only way out was to burn the bridge. There were other ways, but we were too hurt to see them." The host, visibly stunned, pushed again. "Would you return?" Harry smiled sadly. Not as the same man who left, but maybe, someday, as someone who finally understands what loyalty means. The world erupted. British media hailed it as a historic turning point. American networks scrambled to schedule follow-ups. Social media became a war zone. Team Harry, Team Meghan, and a rising group that called itself Team Truth. But the most brutal reaction came from Meghan herself. An anonymous source from her inner circle revealed she felt betrayed on a cosmic level, claiming Harry had sided with the enemy by acknowledging the royal family's humanity on live television. She reportedly screamed at her staff, "He's destroyed everything we worked for, everything." Yet despite her fury, Meghan remained silent. No tweets, no posts, no interviews. The silence, this time, wasn't strategic, it was stunned. She hadn't expected him to go off script. She hadn't thought he'd find the word she feared most, accountability. Her carefully built image of unity and shared struggle had shattered. On live TV, and worse, the public believed him. Polls showed Harry's approval skyrocketing. For the first time since their departure, he was seen not as a runaway prince or manipulated spouse but as a man reclaiming his voice. But the drama wasn't done, not even close, because the day after the interview aired, Meghan received a private letter. Not from Harry, not from the palace, but from a production executive at Netflix. It read, "Given recent developments, we will be reassessing our ongoing content agreements. Please consider this a formal pause on pending projects." Translation: the money was drying up fast. Her reaction, sources say, was volcanic. She locked herself in her office for hours. One staffer shared, "We could hear furniture moving." She was calling everyone agents, lawyers, media partners trying to spin the narrative. But the media tide had turned. For the first time in years, Meghan was not the sympathetic figure. She was the question mark, the unknown variable, the person people weren't sure they believed anymore. Meanwhile, Harry returned to Frogmore Cottage for a private weekend with Princess Eugenie. Photos emerged of them walking in the gardens, laughing, sipping tea, a stark contrast to the high drama. Image of Montecito. Rumors swirled that he'd been in touch with King Charles. That a private reconciliation might be underway. That maybe, just maybe, the door back to family wasn't completely closed. But the biggest twist was yet to come, because Meghan, ever the strategist, wasn't going to vanish. She had one final card left to play, a card so dramatic, so shocking, so out of left field that it would either reclaim the spotlight or destroy everything for good. And it began with a cryptic message posted on a burner Instagram account that many believed was hers. It read, "When truth is weaponized, silence is revolution. Watch me, the world is waiting. Will she speak? Will she fight back? Or will this be the end of the Sussex saga as we know it?" Because if Paramount's rejection slammed the door, then Harry just locked it from the inside. And Meghan, she's still holding the key, but no one's sure which lock she used it on. And then it happened, the moment no one expected. Less than 48 hours after Harry's soul-bearing BBC interview stunned the world, Meghan Markle resurfaced not through a morning show, not through a glossy magazine spread, but through a jaw-dropping, self-directed, black and white, 10-minute monologue video posted to a newly registered domain, MeghanUnfiltered.com. No backing from Netflix, no professional lighting, just Meghan. Sitting alone in a bare room, raw and seemingly makeup-free, looking directly into the lens as if speaking to every person who ever doubted her. The title of the video, "Since he spoke, I must too." Within 10 minutes, every news outlet from CNN to the Daily Mail had picked it up. The video crossed 20 million views in under 6 hours. "I never thought I'd have to do this alone," Meghan began, voice steady but teetering between hurt and defiance. But when someone you love uses your truth as their redemption arc, what choice do you have? She laid into the BBC interview, accusing Harry of performing regret to reclaim popularity and claiming the key parts of his narrative had been selectively remembered. "It's easy to apologize to the world," she said. "Much harder to apologize to the person who stood by you when the world turned against you." But then the video took a turn darker, more accusatory. Meghan spoke of private struggles, her alleged panic attacks during the Netflix production, sleepless nights filled with media-induced nightmares, and an unnamed senior royal staffer who allegedly offered her hush money to step away quietly before the couple even left the palace. She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. Twitter was ablaze with decoded theories. Was the hush money claim about Prince William's inner circle? Was the anonymous staffer referenced actually part of the Queen's old guard? And what did she mean when she said, "There are still emails, there are still tapes"? That sentence alone launched 1,000 conspiracy threads. By the time Meghan reached the final 2 minutes of the video, her tone shifted again, this time too. "Sorrow. I loved him," she whispered. "Still do. But love should be a place you can speak without fear. I was never allowed that." Then, in the last chilling frame, she stared directly into the camera and said, "I didn't lose Harry. The world did." Fade to black. The reaction was nuclear. Meghan had broken the silence and shattered the internet. Her name trended in over 60 countries. Celebrities began taking sides again. Some praised her bravery. Others called it emotional manipulation at its finest. But more than anything, the world was confused, shocked, and addicted. This wasn't just drama anymore, it was global performance. Art. One executive at HBO reportedly joked, "They don't need a show. They are the show." Within hours, media pundits coined a new term, the Sussex Spiral. A real-time unraveling of a royal love story playing out across cameras, contracts, and confessions. Harry, watching from Windsor, was reportedly blindsided. A source inside his circle said he didn't know she was going to drop it. He thought she needed space. Instead, she staged a comeback. According to royal correspondents, Harry was deeply hurt by the implication that he had abandoned her to rewrite history. One insider claimed he thought he was offering honesty. She saw it as betrayal, but Meghan wasn't done. 3 days after the video, her legal team issued a statement hinting at selective defamation and distorted timelines. In Harry's BBC interview, behind the scenes, lawyers were now involved, his and hers. And as if the public spectacle wasn't chaotic enough, a third bomb dropped. A producer from Netflix who had previously worked on Harry and Meghan leaked documents showing that a follow-up special had once been planned. The title, Hearts of Fire. It was supposed to be a 4-part docuseries chronicling the couple's efforts to rebuild trust after their royal exit. But in the leaked planning emails, Meghan had allegedly pushed for a scripted dramatization of certain emotional moments that, according to the producer, never actually happened. One line in an email read, "The fight on the balcony scene is emotionally essential, even if it didn't play out exactly like that." The revelation caused immediate backlash. Fans who had once defended Meghan to the death began posting threads questioning everything. Was it ever real? Did she love him more? The role back at the palace, things were quiet but calculated. Buckingham officials released no official statement. But a well-placed leak suggested King Charles had canceled all public engagements for a full day. To process the evolving situation, rumors swirled that a top-level royal crisis meeting was held to discuss the return of the prodigal son. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine was reportedly calm but cautious, and Prince William still furious. One source said, "He thinks Harry's finally admitting guilt, but in the messiest way possible." But the story wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. Because in a final, dizzying twist, Meghan's team confirmed that she had signed an exclusive deal with a global streaming platform, not Netflix, not Hulu, but a new European platform. Known for controversial documentaries, The Deal, a 3-part series called Sovereign Silence, which promised never-before-seen footage, leaked palace letters, and a narrative no royal watcher has ever dared to tell. The trailer was already edited. The release date, 3 weeks away. Harry, upon hearing the news, was said to have gone completely silent. According to insiders, he canceled all calls, shut off his phone, and left London without informing anyone where he was going. Meghan, for her part, was seen boarding a private jet along with a look that was neither broken nor bitter. It was something else, determined, as if she decided that if the world wouldn't accept her as a duchess, they'd remember her as a legend. And so now the world watches again, on the edge of its seat, caught between sympathy and suspicion, between heartbreak and spectacle, wondering, is this love turned war? Or was it always a war disguised as love? And if this is their final act, who, if anyone, will get the curtain call, and just when? The dust seemed like it might settle when the headlines began shifting toward new scandals, new stars, and new royal distractions, another twist through gasoline on an already raging fire. A leak, but not just any leak. This time, it was from inside the palace. A 42-page internal memo, marked private, do not circulate, somehow made its way to the inboxes of 3 major media outlets, all at once, within minutes. Redacted? Versions were plastered across breaking news banners, sparking what would soon be dubbed the Sussex Files leak. The memo detailed years of behind-the-scenes conversations, crisis meetings, and internal investigations launched by senior royal aides to monitor and manage the Sussex situation. It included direct quotes from staffers who described Meghan as strategically volatile, Harry as emotionally detached, and their joint media approach as deliberately destabilizing. Most shockingly, the memo also referenced multiple attempts at quiet reconciliation made by King Charles which, according to the documents, were rejected or publicly undermined by Meghan's team. The palace refused to comment. But by then, it didn't matter. The story was viral. Fans, foes, and even foreign governments were weighing in. Editorials exploded. Social media combusted. And once again, the world turned its full attention back. To the most controversial couple on earth, Meghan's reaction to the leak was immediate. Her legal team fired off cease and desist letters to every outlet that published even a line of the memo. She issued a scathing public statement, calling the leak a coordinated smear campaign orchestrated by shadowy palace insiders desperate to protect outdated systems of power. But the damage was already done, because, while the public debated the memo's authenticity, Harry was finally preparing to speak again, but this time, not to a network, not to a journalist, and not to the world. He was writing, privately, furiously. An unfinished manuscript was reportedly in progress, handwritten, personal, emotional, titled after Meghan. One close confidant who had seen early pages described it as the most honest thing Harry's ever attempted. The manuscript didn't vilify Meghan, but it didn't spare her either. According to insiders, it explored the ways in which love, when built on trauma, can turn to codependence, and how the thirst for purpose can blind even the most sincere intentions. And then, quietly, without press, Harry flew to Scotland. Not for royal duty but to meet with his father. Privately, the meeting, according to multiple unconfirmed sources, lasted 3 hours. No staff, no cameras, no statements. What was discussed remains a mystery, but a single photo taken through the window of Balmoral Castle showed Harry and King Charles seated together at a table, heads bowed, neither smiling nor arguing, just talking for the first time in years. Back in the US, Meghan was planning her next move. Sovereign Silence was nearing release, and early reviews from internal test audiences were mixed. Some called it unapologetic and fearless, others bitter and revisionist. Meghan refused to cut a single frame. In fact, she added a final scene, one that hadn't been part of the original script, a direct-to-camera message. In it, Meghan stared into the lens and asked the audience, "If I were a man, would you have?" Believed me, the trailer for the docuseries went live within hours. It trended #1 in 12 countries, but the backlash was fierce. Feminist icons distanced themselves. Former allies went quiet. Even major Hollywood supporters began urging Meghan to take a break from the spotlight. One high-level agent reportedly told her, "You're risking permanent exile not from royalty, but from relevance." Meghan didn't listen. Instead, she arranged an exclusive interview, her first in nearly a year, on an emerging European talk show known for confronting power without mercy. And once again, the world prepared itself for what she might say, but she didn't show up. An hour before airtime, Meghan canceled. The host, furious, went live anyway, reading aloud the list of pre-approved questions Meghan had submitted in advance, which painted her as a martyr, a revolutionary, a silenced hero. The audience booed. The public began whispering the unthinkable. Was Meghan losing the narrative? And then came the final twist. A private recording allegedly captured during a call between Meghan and one of her last remaining confidants leaked online. In it, she can be heard saying, "Maybe it was never about healing. Maybe I just wanted to win." It was quiet and sure, almost like a confession that slipped out by accident. But it echoed around the world like a scream. Suddenly, #AfterMeghan began trending, originally in reference to Harry's manuscript, but it soon took on a darker meaning. A digital post-mortem of everything the couple once stood for. The movement they sparked, the love story they sold, the chaos they left behind. Meghan went silent again. Her publicist resigned. Streaming platforms began removing old Sussex content from their homepages. And Archewell, it quietly laid off most of its remaining staff. As for Harry, he returned to Windsor. For good, no announcement, no drama, just a quiet re-entry into the family fold. He now splits his time between private engagements and charitable causes. No interviews, no memoir releases, just stillness, healing, and Meghan, no one knows. Some say she's in Europe, regrouping. Others claim she's working on a legacy-defining final book. But one thing is certain: the fairy tale is over. The rebellion has ended. And what's left in the ashes is neither villain nor victim, but a cautionary tale told in whispers and headlines. And as the final credits roll on the story that once captivated the globe, one question remains: was this ever love? Or just the world's most beautiful illusion? So there you have it, the fall of a modern royal empire, not with grace or dignity, but with whispers, war cries, secret memos, and cameras that never blinked. What began as a love story that defied tradition ended in a silence so loud it shook the world. Harry and Meghan set out to change the system, to be seen and heard on their own terms. But somewhere along the way, the message got lost in the spectacle. Hollywood turned cold, the palace held its line, and the public, it watched with popcorn in one hand and disbelief in the other. Now, with Harry quietly returning to his roots and Meghan vanishing into shadow, one thing is clear: this wasn't just about royalty, it was about image, identity, and the price of turning your life into content. The doors at Paramount are closed, the cameras are turned off, and the spotlight, it's already moved on. But what do you think? Were Harry and Meghan victims of a centuries-old machine, or master manipulators of their own downfall? Was the rejection from Paramount the final nail in their public coffin, or just another chapter in a never-ending saga? Let us know in the comments below, because your opinion matters more than ever in this era of media-made royalty. Don't forget to like this video if you were hooked, share it with that one friend who still swears Meghan was right, and of course subscribe to the channel for more shocking stories, deep dives, and jaw-dropping revelations from the world of fame, fortune, and fallout. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, in the age of royal drama, truth is never simple and love is never enough. Never enough.